Well, hello, hello, hello. And how is your heart today? I hope it's wonderful. Welcome to a special episode of The Portal with Terrie Huberman. I wanted to do something a little bit different, just to spice things up, not only for you guys, but for me as well. Right. So I am about to participate in a collaboration with a colleague of mine. Her name is Tara. So you'll be able to learn more about her and you'll be able to hear our conversation. And it's just two spiritual empaths just chatting. I learned a lot from speaking with her, and hopefully you'll learn a lot from speaking with her. But I didn't want to just do your normal, regular, typical interview. It was cool to have a co-host. So I'm going to see if I can gather some more co-hosts so we can just play, right? Because don't we all need that energetic frequency of play? So here we go. We're coming up, and I want to introduce you to Tara. We are officially recording, Tara. Thank you for
All right.
coming. I was just explaining it to you, but now I'm just going to explain it to anybody who watches, is that I wanted to add a little bit more play and fun and, make hopefully some silliness and authenticity and, reality into some of the content that I do. So I'm doing this is actually an experiment. You are the first person that I'm doing this with. And this will either be awesome or it'll suck. So it'll, there's no in between. And it's just really to share. It's to share energy, it's to share knowledge, to share wisdom, to share experience. And so there's no actual agenda. It's just, we're just gonna like talk, hang out, think of it as like, spiritual empath girls night. So there's plenty of people
Let's get the energy flowing.
Exactly. And there's plenty of people who just want to sort of like observe and watch. So, I don't know. Oh, you know what we can do at least, because we can how about you introduce, like, I know you're Tara, but why don't you like tell people you're Tara?
Yeah. Hey, hello, everyone out there. I am Tara or Tara. It's
Tara.
okay.
Okay, it's Tara, not Tara. Okay, so we
It's
start
okay. I know
off
who you're talking to.
my apologies, Tara. Okay.
And I'm also known as the Odd Witch. And I call myself the Odd Witch not because I'm necessarily a witch or practice Wicca or anything like that, although I was raised doing that. But I think it's time to take that word back, kind of like the C word.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So many people are offended by it. So, and eons ago, when people called themselves witches, it wasn't themselves calling themselves witches. They were herbalists, they were midwives, they were energy workers, which is what we are. And that's why I call myself the Odd Witch. And I focus mostly on astrology, but I do like to dabble a little bit with the sexual stuff.
Nice.
So, yeah,
Nice.
I used to teach kink and BDSM, but now I do a lot of erotic astrology along with business astrology and stuff like that. And
Well,
that's me.
but that actually makes sense because those frequencies are in alignment.
Completely,
Business
completely.
and
It's
eroticism.
kind of like tantric sex.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I
so
love it.
cool. That's so of course, like I'm like, ooh, tell me more.
Well, if you want to know anything about erotic astrology, when you look at your chart, you should look at where your Mars and your Venus is, and
Okay.
then your Eris.
I know that my Mars is in Leo, my Venus is in Capricorn. No, excuse me, Cancer. My Venus is in Cancer. And then what else did you say?
Eros, it's an asteroid. Most people don't look at
Yeah, I don't know.
that. So just start with the Mars and Venus.
Yeah.
So like your Venus is in Cancer, mine
Yeah.
also is too, which means you're probably really turned on. Like you like to cuddle a lot and like all the ooey gooey stuff. You like to touch your lover a lot. They're very I don't want to say sensual, but yeah, cuddly's the best word. And then your Mars is going to show you like your sexual desire. So you could even be attracted to, what was your Mars in?
Leo.
Leo. Oh, So
Oh,
you actually probably in the bedroom love to play and you
I
want your
do.
partner to play. Like you probably get a little turned on by playing games. You might have a lot of fantasies about that. Even if you don't actually do that, like that really gets you going. All that little playful stuff. Maybe
Yeah,
dirty talk probably turns you on a lot.
yeah. And you know what's funny is that like I laugh a lot. Like I am
Yeah.
giggly, laughy. And it's funny because if you have a partner who's not like comfortable with that, it freaks them out. But it's,
Yeah.
I mean, I, it's just the way I operate, it is what it is. But yeah, it's been a while anyway, so who knows what it would be like now. Well, do you
Well,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, like my Venus is in Virgo. Okay, so I actually literally I walk into a Staples and I'm like, oh my God, I'm turned on. Like all the organizational
I was
stuff.
thinking like organization. Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
This stuff is real. Like this stuff is real, and the thing is it's so complicated. I love when people are like, okay, well, what's your sign? And you say, oh, I'm a Libra, and then they think they know everything about you. I'm not an astrologist, but I
No.
know that there's so many moving parts to like just like in our
Yeah.
human self,
Yeah.
it's like there's so many moving parts to it. So yeah, I could see why you would be doing it like with business and eroticism.
Well, you're always learning. You never learn everything about astrology. Ever. You never learn everything about it.
Yeah.
Period.
Well,
It's too much.
I noticed that like in my spiritual practice, because I think it's been like maybe 2.5 years where I started pranic healing and arhatic yoga. And it's really basically unionizing, if that's a word, uniting, unionizing uniting the higher soul with like the entangled like lower soul, the human part. And as I practice and as I study and learn, I don't know anything. Like I just, the more I learn, the less I know. So I would think
Yeah.
astrology is the
Yeah.
same way, except with astrology, it's more structured. So you do actually know, right?
It is more structured and there's so many different variations of it too. You know what I mean? There's like the Vedic astrology. There's,
Yeah.
even the house system you use
Yeah.
changes everything.
Yeah.
I try to stick with just one so I don't get too confused.
Which system do you use?
If you, I use the Placidus
Oh, okay. A lot of people use that.
system, and then sometimes I switch to the whole house system.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the most common one. But
When I,
I agree with you too about how you were saying that you can't just say one sign. Like one of my biggest pet peeves is when you go on the internet and you'll read, find out what kind of entrepreneur you are according to your sun sign. Well, you can't. That's dumb. Like,
well, that's just a marketing technique, a marketing ploy.
yeah,
Get somebody on your
yeah,
email list. And it works though. So it works,
it does.
so general that you can't apply it to yourself personally,
Hmm.
you know. But it's fun. Well, the thing is like I don't know if you've noticed this. And God, I get so like in and out, back and forth with it, forth with it. My tongue is like, thank you, Mercury retrograde.
Yep, yep.
Like people are waking up in terms of like becoming more spiritual and thinking differently, like just shifting their
Hmm.
perception. And a lot of people aren't, so when they start generalizing for people who have, I don't want to make it sound elitist or anything by saying, oh, well, those who've woken up, because again, I still feel like as long as you're wearing an earth suit, you're always learning and always evolving. But,
Yeah.
you know, I feel like people like us who are very empathetic towards people's needs, need to sort of educate people on like,
Yeah.
you can't really generalize, you know?
What What's your take on because it's kind of a buzzword now, empathic. Everyone's
Yeah.
an empath.
Yeah.
What's your take on that word? Because I understand what people mean when they say that, but I also think sometimes it's overused.
Totally. It's totally,
Yeah.
it is a buzzword because now trauma healing is, the thing to do, although technically we should have been doing that all along, but okay.
Yeah.
So really what it is this is how I look at it. And when I'm working with my clients, this is how I'm looking at it, right? So we have our human life in this incarnation, and things happen in this human life where we're taught how to behave and do things. And so for me, an empath is someone who is highly attuned and sensitive to energy because they were taught how to be from a very young age because of instability, insecurity, and uncertainty. So there are normally very loving and kind people out there, but I think an empath is something you can actually learn when you're feeling unsafe in the world. Does that make sense?
I think that's the best definition I've ever heard of it, hands down,
So
because that's what it means. You're sensitive to the energies around
yeah,
you,
yeah,
and I do believe that everyone can tap into that.
yeah. I
Kind
mean,
of like reading tarot cards.
right. Oh, everybody has this God-given gift of an intuition,
Hmm.
just based on how we're raised, what society is like, generational experiences. We either learn to embrace it or shy away from it. And then sometimes, because our higher soul is here to actually evolve, that's why it takes on a human. It actually needs the human. So there's an evolution that's happening to the higher soul, and it kind of pushes and nudges the human into this space or place where it has to start using those gifts and talents.
Hmm. Now, for you, did this was it always there for you?
So yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's twofold. I kind of have two sides to it. One is that on my mother's side of the family, it like psychism and foreshadowing, foretelling uh runs on my mom's side of the family. However, I feel like I kind of fine-tuned it because of I come from a Holocaust surviving family. So
Oh.
like on my mom's side of the family, they had to flee and run away from two countries to
Hmm.
escape. So on my mom's side of the family, we had some family escape. They were in Poland, and the only place that would take them at the time as like refugees kind of was Cuba,
Oh, wow.
right? And then Cuba, they had to leave Cuba. So there's
Yeah.
survival mode literally to the T. It's like, I have to get away. I have to do whatever I can to live. Right. So that's on my mom's side of the family. And on my dad's side of the family, they were in the Holocaust, lost family. I mean, horror stories, all the things. They were finally liberated, thankfully. But there's this sense of always having to be on guard and anticipating what's the next move for physical safety. So every human, and I don't believe this when someone says I don't have any trauma. I think just being human is traumatizing. So I call BS on that. But I'll to their face, I'll be like, oh,
Oh, yeah.
that's nice. So the way my coping skill, one of them, one of my, it's a big one, coping mechanisms was to disassociate to God.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense.
I went to God when I was feeling, insecure, uncertain. So I got really good at connecting to the divine as a way of being safe and secure. So I've been like this my entire life, but it's actually a
You've been
survival.
aware of it too.
Yeah. And it's a survival skill. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
weird, right? Like most people don't. But see, that's why I really do feel that a lot of empaths, they're constantly, because of the amount of anxiety, They're always scanning, wanting to make sure that they're safe. So they have to tap into that energy field to anticipate for safety, for the body, for the human.
Yeah.
So that's my
It
take on
it almost seems like it almost seems like, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but the more trauma you have, the more tuned in you can be. Not that they would be listening, because I think that's another part of it too.
it.
Like you could be tuned in to all the energies around you, but if you're not listening and paying attention to it,
Yes,
it's not going to do you any good. You know what I'm saying?
for sure. Which is why, like, when I work with my clients long period of times, not like the one-off psychic readings or the mediumship readings, it's hard to teach somebody how to manage anxiety to receive that information. So that's what I do, is I help them deal with the anxiety so that they can listen and they can take that information and make a life
Yeah,
for themselves. So it is I love how you actually, that's a really great way of saying it, because it's a two-part system. I guess it's one thing to be tuned, and then it's
yeah.
another to listen. Yeah, that's right. That's cool.
What 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 would be the first thing that you would say to someone who wants to listen better, I guess?
Whew.
Yeah.
It's hard because there's not just one thing. Let me see if I can simplify this. I think, and this might be interesting because it might tie in with your eroticism,
Mhm.
astrology. I would tell them to start becoming aware of when they are in anxiety mode, because anxiety mode is hyper overstimulation of
Yeah.
masculine energy. Because what
Yep.
does masculine energy do? It protects.
Yeah.
So when,
That is a brilliant way to put it. The masculine and feminine energy. I love that. And
yeah,
that's what I meant about the Mars and the Venus. The Mars is like your masculine energy and the Venus is your feminine energy. Yeah,
yeah.
that's a beautiful way to say it.
So that might be, a way of saying it to some, like, I don't know if that's the first thing I would say. I mean, like I said, it's totally complicated. I think I would, God, this is such a great question. Maybe I would even say, you're making me think, which is great. Maybe I would even say, like, you have a superpower you can use, but your experience distorts the truth of it.
Ooh, that's good. I years and years ago I had a close friend of mine pass away, unfortunately. This isn't a sad story, don't worry. But then I had a I had a psychic friend of mine come to me and she's like, "Listen, he is trying to get a message to you and he's going to keep bugging you until you can hear this message." And it was like for weeks this went on and on. He was keeping me up, waking me up, little tickles, little sounds, whatever. And then finally I woke up out of a dead sleep and it was the most beautiful message. It was just listen. That's it. And
Just like,
in that moment, I understood what he meant. Not like but listen to everything. Listen to the universe. Listen to the energy.
yeah,
Yeah. And it's hard to explain that to people, but I think the way that you just said it, like, it's perfect. Like when you talk about the masculine and the feminine, because once you just listen and start paying attention, you will be able to tell if it's a masculine or feminine energy, and you will be able to tell, if it's affecting your body.
well,
Pay
that's the first
attention to your body too.
that's the first indicator. That's the first indicator, because the soul, this is where I can get kind of complicated, but the higher soul uses the body as a tool for its evolution. So the higher soul wants to learn a lesson, let's say, whether it's from past lives or this life, it doesn't matter. It's got a lesson. So what it does is it takes on a human body that can create the scenario or the situation that the body can respond or react, so it does something different. And in that process, the higher soul gets evolved. So anytime there's like, I think where a lot of people in the spiritual community miss is that the body is so important, like you were saying,
Yeah.
in in spirituality, in healing, in transformation, because we cannot bypass, we cannot run away from, we cannot escape from the earth suit, because we're in this now moment, we're humans, right? If we were Venusians, we wouldn't have an earth suit, we'd have a Venus, right? So maybe the Venus suit
Right.
operates differently. So if you,
Oh, I never thought of that.
right, I mean, you can't think of that. I can't think of that because we're human. So we're wearing an earth suit because we're bound by planet Earth right now.
Now, what do you think about like animals? Do you know
They,
what I mean? Like, do you think your dog, I mean, I know dogs are very, very perceptive and they pay very close attention to body language and stuff. But do you think that their souls are also kind of, I guess, going through the same thing, the same experience? I'm not sure.
well, that's their earth suit that they're wearing on planet Earth,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
that's so weird to think of.
That, I mean, that's
What
their,
kind,
that's what they're wearing,
yeah.
you know?
What kind of lesson do you think your dog is learning?
She's still young, 2 years old. I think it's, I don't know just yet. I think, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think I rescued her from the shelter at 10 months old, a little over a year ago. And she was just, you want to talk about anxiety, mama pajama. And now, again, with the consistency and training and the trust, she has more, she's calmer and she trusts me more. So maybe her lesson right now is just to trust that she's safe.
Yeah. I have I have an Australian Shepherd Border Collie mix, and
Um,
those dogs are known for just being anxious in general. I know they're so high energy, but a lot of fun. But when you said that, it made me think like, well, maybe that's why he is that breed because he's supposed to learn like that it's okay to be alone sometimes. That you
right.
know what I mean? Maybe that's his lesson.
Oh, that's fascinating. You're saying that because if we go into like what the each breed has their own characteristics and they
Hmm.
are like bred for certain things. So this is funny because she's a Shih Tzu. My dog's a Shih Tzu mix. She's like 54% Shih Tzu, and then there's like Pekingese, miniature poodle. There's a little bit of pug. There's like she's a mutt, but she's mostly Shih Tzu. And Shih Tzus were bred to keep the feet of the emperors in Asia, like China, to keep their feet warm when they sleep
Oh my
at
God.
night. She sleeps by my feet. And they're not bred to
Isn't that weird?
they're not bred to fight. They're not bred to protect. They're bred to be like companion dogs. So that's even interesting. I love how you went like, isn't it interesting how they're different breeds because they can learn too. I mean, if we're talking about soul evolution, of course, how do we prove any of this? We can't. But if we're talking about soul evolution, what you're saying makes complete sense. I love that.
Now I'm going to be looking at every dog
I
breed.
know. Like, oh,
Like,
I know what you're here. I know what you're
what are they here for?
here. So maybe she's just here to keep my feet warm. but
Maybe.
but it is really interesting. That's fascinating. That's fascinating. Yeah, I love that. So are you seeing like what there's so many things that are going on in the world right now and there's so many, like current events. Are you seeing like what's your take on the evolution of what's going on?
Oh, I think it's we're on the verge of a huge spiritual awakening
Yeah.
completely as a whole. You know, the whole dawn of Aquarius,
Oh
that
yeah.
thing. And I think it's totally true. When I was younger, I thought it was like that's silly. Like even in my 20s, I was like, well, whatever, whatever. But the older I get and the more I pay attention, just even having the buzzword empath tells you something. And how often do you hear now a light worker and those things? And and maybe it's because I'm part of that community, so I pay attention to it more. But even on the news, you hear them talking about things like that now. So I think people are getting away from the whole organized religion and kind of going on like a spiritual quest with themselves, which is why I don't practice Wicca, because to me, you're organizing it, and well, now it's an organized religion.
That's really interesting.
You know what I mean? I say do what you want to do. If you want to dance naked in the full moon, go ahead. Who cares? But you don't have to do those things at certain times and be so, regimented. And I think that's what a lot of people are figuring out. Like they can,
Yeah.
whatever feels good to their soul is
Yeah.
what they should be searching for, what they should be doing.
Yeah. That's what, was interesting when I took like official formal training in psychic and mediumship. I had to be validated publicly. I was tested, the whole thing. And I am so grateful for the education that I got from it. Like so, so grateful. But one of the things I kept feeling was like, okay, there are these rules and ways you have to follow. But I felt like in order for me to be more accurate, or for me, not even accurate, that's not a good word. For me to be more of service and help people, I had to kind of go rogue from the
Yeah.
strategies and the lineups and the this and the that. And so when it came time for me to like be teaching people and helping them with their intuition, I pretty much, like when I do tarot readings, or if I do water readings or whatever kind of reading, I say I go rogue. And I want to
Yeah.
teach people how to go rogue, because then you're actually, I don't think you're really using your intuition, are you? If you're following a structure and you're
Yep.
being given a gift of connection to the divine, but you're not using it because you're following structure or rules, I don't feel like you're getting the full picture.
I agree 100%. And of course, I love structure of some sort,
Well, yeah,
but I think those should be like guidelines, not rules.
guidelines.
Like
Yeah,
when I teach people how to read tarot,
yeah,
the first thing I say is throw the book out. You don't fucking need the book. Like, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
because
exactly.
you're not actually reading cards. You're actually tapping into your intuition. That's what you're doing when you read
So,
tarot.
so that ends up being the tool that, or the gate that allows you that connection. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and I it's very interesting to see, some people love that concept and some people don't. Like I've had mixed reactions, because then they're like, you're not,
Yeah.
you don't know what the meaning of the card is. I'm like, I don't need to know what the meaning of the card. There's a guideline that I can draw out of. But what I do is like, I'm playing telephone with God, and I'm like, okay, this is what they want you
Yeah.
to know. This is what your team wants you to know. There's more information than just on this card.
Now, do you find that I do anyhow, according to what deck I use, it changes
Oh,
too,
sure.
because each deck
Totally.
feels different. Yeah.
Totally.
I
Totally.
have a
Because
theory that like when you're using a different deck, sometimes it's like maybe you're tapping into like a little guide over here, or maybe it's a little angel over here for this deck, or whatever it is.
yeah, absolutely. And that's the other thing is like, I'll get requests from people, well, tell me who my guide is. And I'm like, look, we have so many, I call them employees of God. I'm like, we have
That's great.
so many. And we're humans, so we can't even fathom, like, we can't even imagine, fathom, think of how many, but they know what their job is.
Mhm.
So all we need to do is just tap into our team. I call them like the cosmic family, and they know what their job is. We don't have to control or assign, So you could have, because we have masters, teachers, loved ones, spiritual helpers, holy angels, archangels, our higher soul. I mean, how are we supposed to keep track of things? We're merely mortals. Let them do their job.
They're supposed to keep track of us.
They know what to do.
When
So
you said when you said God's employees, in my head, I just pictured like a whole management team up
yeah,
above me and all around me. Like, They
Yeah.
got their little clipboards, you know.
They know what they're doing. You got gatekeepers, like let them do, you have like a spirit guide for your sense of humor. You have a spirit guide for your travel. You have a spirit guide for your finance. Like you don't need to know if Jim or Bob or Sally Sue is like, you don't need to do that because you know what I find? Tell me if you find this. I'll make a suggestion. All you got to do is just build a relationship with them. And people actually don't build like they don't take the time out to build their relationship with them. So why do you even
Well,
want their name?
yeah, yeah. And it's true. It's just like meeting a person. You have to get to
Yeah,
know them. They have to get to know you better, you know. Yeah,
yeah,
literally building relationship. It's
yeah,
just like building relationship with your partner, you
yeah,
know. Same
exactly.
thing.
Exactly.
I love that employees of God.
Yeah, I mean that's the only way that it makes any kind of sense to me, and I get it. So, being a human, um we do have to try and make as much sense as possible because we're physical and material, and as an empath, we do have that ability to tap into non-physical, but the human brain wants to process that information in a sensory
Yes.
way, through sight, sound, smell, touch, and hearing. But it's
Yeah.
like a Wi-Fi signal. Like the brain doesn't process that, so we're not going to see it or smell it or taste it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't
That's
exist.
a really good way to put it.
Well, I mean, like an X-ray machine, we don't see the X-rays. I mean, we see the end result, but the actual like energy of the X-ray,
Yeah.
you don't see it. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's just that the human brain can't process it.
Yeah.
And so we think it doesn't exist because it doesn't show up in any of our physical senses.
But that's why I like how you can use your body because in a sense it like you said it is showing up in your body. You know, how many times have people said like, "Oh, I just had a gut feeling." Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it's because your gut was telling you something, you know? And
Exactly.
if you pay attention to that, you'll notice it. Like one of the things I tell people when I'm helping them tap into their intuition is like, okay, close your eyes, get still. Now tell yourself something that you know is true. Like my name is Tara. Pay attention to how you feel. Now say something you know isn't true. Pay attention to how it feels. You
Yeah.
know, and that's also a good way to tell if someone's lying because you know how that feels. You're like, my radar is up.
And you as the human get to deem it. Like you get to
Yeah.
control, not control the response, but you get to control the delegation of what that response is. So we can use our bodies as a pendulum.
Oh, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I mean, that's what muscle testing is all about.
Hmm.
You know, do
I
you,
keep hearing my dogs howl. I'm sorry.
oh, do you need to bring them over?
No, no, they're fine. They're upstairs. They're howling.
That's what they're here for.
Exactly.
Do
What
you,
lesson is this?
do you have a, like, what is your, do you have, well, first, do you have a spiritual practice and like, what is it?
Well, I definitely have a spiritual practice, but it's for me, it's a very personal thing. I was raised Catholic and Wiccan, so I kind of had the best of both worlds. So I do still do things like, I pay attention to the moon cycles just because it's like a natural thing for me, especially being a woman. Duh,
Yeah.
you should.
It's kind of
You
built
know,
into us.
yeah, but for me, a lot of it is just speaking to God and listening and paying attention. And I love how the universe will just talk to you. Like one of my favorite things to do is turn on the radio and know that every single song you're hearing is the universe speaking to you,
Yeah.
even if you don't realize it. So I just kind of go throughout my day just trying to listen to the universe. And I find that if I don't, like when I stop speaking to God and listening, my day doesn't go as well,
Yeah.
you know? So I wouldn't say it's like a I don't have a regimented spiritual
Mhm.
practice, but I am always listening, speaking, just trying to follow my intuition.
Do you
How about
think
you? What do you do?
so? Since I started the Arhatic yoga, I do have a process that I do. I do what's called meditation twin hearts, which I highly, highly suggest to anybody. It's all over YouTube. You can do that. And what that does is it starts to open up the heart into loving kindness. So,
Maybe I
because
should try that.
the thing is like, again, here's what I want to say. I am a spiritual empath and I have anxiety. And so, as someone who can tap into outside frequencies and energies and then get triggered by it and then go with that amount of excess energy in the body, I have to balance it out. So, too much
Mhm.
masculine energy doesn't allow you to receive, which is opening up the heart, which is allowing, which is to relax, right? So I have to work harder at that. And one of the meditations that I do in this, it's not a religion, it's just like a practice, is practice loving kindness as a way of opening up my heart. And that particular meditation, it also activates the crown chakra, because the Taurus field, so the science part of it, is the way energy works even on planet Earth is through a Taurus field, where the energy comes up and around and up and around and up
Mhm.
and around. And so when you open the heart and you open the crown, you have that Taurus field, and it helps with materialization and manifestation, if that's a direction that you want to go in. A lot of spiritual empaths who have anxiety merely just want calmness and peace in their life,
Yeah.
so that they can neutralize and then start creating. Otherwise, the energy that you're using, like, you don't have, it's like the hygiene of the energy comes from the past, right? So it's kind of dirty energy from the past. So if you can neutralize by opening the heart and then activating the crown, which is like the brain, then you send out the signal. So I start out with some sort of, usually it's meditation twin hearts, but there's a few other ones. And then I'll do some inner purification, which is like, these are where I've made mistakes. This is where, like, self-reflection. This is where there's room for improvement. And then it's not easy. It's really hard to do, but practice forgiveness on the self so that I can move forward.
Okay, now that is something that I also do on a regular basis. I don't normally do it daily, but I do try to at least once or twice a week sit down and reflect on things like, where could I have done better?
Yeah.
Okay, well, fine, forgive myself, let's move on. And
Yeah.
I have found that to be a game changer, that, just with just feeling better and then being able to pass along light to other people.
Well,
It
because
helps me, I guess, clear everything out.
there's two things I think that's happening is you're cleaning out, you're clearing out, but then you're building compassion for other people, because you're saying, I made a mistake. And, I'm doing the best that I can. I now have the knowledge and the awareness of the mistake. So when that situation or circumstance comes up again, I'm going to choose differently. And then
Yeah.
you recognize it in yourself. You see it in other people and you're like, oh man, I know what you're going through. So I feel like, you know, so I go ahead and I do that. Um, and then I think I just pretty much go ahead and I do that. And I just, like, ask for divine guidance and wisdom. And it usually takes about an hour to do all of that. So I do that once I'll like wake up, I'll go to the bathroom, I'll take the dog to go to the bathroom. I set up my laptop. What I do have is, I have a bowl of salt water to collect dirty energy because it emulates the ocean, which has so much salt. Those ions are actually cleaning and clearing.
Yep.
So I'll have a bowl of salt water. I'll do that. And I'll do the meditation, which flushes out negative energy and it opens up the heart and it opens up the brain. And then I'll do my practice and then I'm done. The whole thing takes about an hour. Today I did something different. If I'm like really like feeling stuck or I can't, I call it, there's something stuck in my vibrational craw. Like I got something, I don't know what it is. It hasn't been brought to my awareness, but my body detects it, right?
Yeah.
Then I'll start cleaning and clearing out some chakras and I'll start doing some actual energy work. So today I was working on my basic chakra, which is, most people know it as like, well, it's the tailbone. So, which has a lot to do with prosperity. It has a lot to do with movement and action, moving forward and letting go. So I did that this morning. And then also,
I like your idea
go ahead.
I'm sorry, I like your idea of having a bowl of salt water. I never thought of that because a lot of times I'll cleanse my house and that's what I use is, the salt water.
Yeah.
But, literally like mop my floor kind of thing. But I'm going to try that, just taking a bowl with the salt water and let it just collect the negative energy. I
Oh,
love that. That's a great idea.
girl, if you want to level up, take a salt shower. So what's a
Ooh,
salt shower?
yeah.
So I'll take like non-scented, like bath gel, and I'll pour in a bunch of
Hmm.
salt and I mix it so it becomes a paste. And then I stand in
Yeah.
the shower and I wash my hair with it. I put it on all of the chakras. I stand for about 2 minutes and I'm letting everything go. Anything that's dirty, all this dirty energy, I let it go. And then I shower and wash it off. And then I just feel so much lighter afterwards. So a
I'm
salt.
trying it.
Then you can put in
Um,
lavender oil. I put in lavender. I put in tea tree because those have different
yeah.
frequencies in it. And it's like, this is awesome. So a salt shower is
I always I always make moon water every full moon. So I think that's what I'm going to do with it next time. Because a lot of times I'll make my coffee with it or just, cleanse things. But yeah, I'm going to do that with it. So I'll make
Wait,
my moon water and then
do
take a salt shower.
you use specific moons to make the moon water, or do you just every moon? Like
Every
full,
full moon, just every full
full moon,
moon.
full moon. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
guess that's a ritual that I do always. Yeah,
yeah,
literally every full moon.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's part of your ritual. Absolutely. Um, yeah, a full moon water would be great for that salt shower. Yeah. Ooh,
Yeah, I'm trying it.
you have me thinking now. I'm like, oh, because we have a full moon coming up in like what, a day or two.
Hmm.
Sweet.
Do you make your moon water?
I
Like,
don't. I should. Now I'm like, oh, okay.
yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to. No, I don't.
Okay,
I'm gonna do it.
I'll I'll take a salt shower this full moon and you do it too, and then we'll report back and see we can like a little experiment.
Yes, let's do that. Yeah, I need to do that. I think that is something it's interesting. Like I used to do a lot more spell work. Um,
Sure.
but I don't want to say I got away from it. It just sort of like fell off because I realized through my education and through experimentation that I don't necessarily need all those things to still acute to have the same result. And I know why, all that spell work is there
Yes.
for the physical part of us that needs to have that. But um I'm like, I should do this moon water thing. Like, because that's really cool. I'm totally gonna do that. Totally gonna do that.
Well, I'm glad that you said that about getting away from the spell work, because that's kind of what I meant about how, like, when I was talking about the whole spiritual awakening, you know, years and years ago, like even when I was like a teenager, like being Wiccan was the big thing. And everybody would like, oh, I have a spell for this, I have a spell for that. Well, as I grew as a person and spiritually, I realized the same thing, that you don't necessarily need, I don't know, eye of newt, whatever it is. It's just a symbolism to help you put your energy a certain place. Yeah. So
Exactly.
same thing. That's why I say I don't really practice Wicca anymore, because I'm setting intentions. I'm not doing spell work. That's what a prayer is. A prayer is
Yeah,
setting an intention. It's the
totally.
same thing.
Totally. And then I think the other part to that, it's funny because as soon as you said that, like I started thinking, I started doing some, earth work. I call it earth work, where I started doing some trauma work and a lot of deep, deep inner reflection. And I started to realize that a lot of the times I was using the crystals or the
Yeah.
pendulum or the Reiki or whatever to kind of bypass what was really going on, where I needed to
Yeah.
really get down to the deep, dark stuff. And it wasn't actually serving me to do spell work because
Yeah.
I was just pushing my crap just down deeper and deeper without dealing with it.
I think spell work is a good place for some people to start. You
Yeah.
know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
without a doubt.
Look,
Without a doubt.
like, the crystals, of course they resonate in energy and stuff, but I think naturally, just as you grow spiritually and as a person, you'll realize, like, okay, that served me a purpose there, but I don't need it. Kind of like training wheels on a bike.
Yeah. And have
Once you figure out how to ride the bike, yeah.
and have you noticed that you end up losing or misplacing the crystals and then you find them again and they leave and then they come? Oh, but there's no
Yeah, all the
intelligence.
time.
There's no intelligence to any of this, right?
No.
So funny. So funny. Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like we're on the same wavelength, which is cool. Sometimes I don't know if you've been in situations with people who were cynics. Um,
Mhm.
which is basically somebody who's like not gonna see your perspective or point of view at all. Now, a
Yep.
skeptic, I feel like a skeptic is better because they'll at least consider.
They'll at least listen to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they'll
Yeah.
kind of mull around and they'll go, that's interesting. I want to know more or I want to learn more. And then they'll, deduct their own reasoning. But a cynic, no way. Like you
Yeah.
just,
Just not budging.
and I've been in many situations with that. And they just they
Usually,
go ahead.
usually if I run across a cynic, I just, change the subject. Like, it's
If
because
there's
it
no,
drains my energy trying to,
oh yeah,
no,
yeah.
and I'm not trying to oppose my opinion on them. I want them to wake up too.
Yes. And you don't need to be fighting to be right. And that's what it could end
No.
up being. And then, I mean, it's interesting you say that because you can generate good karma in that situation where if you just switch the subject, because then you allow them to stay in their power, in their truth, in their alignment, even though it's different than yours. So you're not trying to change, control, manipulate, or anything like that, which karma always comes back. You know,
That's true. That's very true.
that's
They
practice.
might they
Go ahead.
might not be ready to wake up. They might not be ready to listen.
Right.
They have some other lessons to learn before they'll get there.
And what's interesting is that is us practicing loving kindness
Yeah.
by allowing them to have their own. And I think things would go a lot smoother these days if people just understood that.
Yeah. Absolutely, especially with everything going on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, girl, did you like this? Did you have fun? Is this something you would want to
Oh
do?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. I had a lot of fun. It's nice just being able to talk about this stuff with someone who gets it, first
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. Yeah, for
And
sure.
yeah, I would do this again. I'd like to have you on my podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe we could do like the same thing.
Yeah.
Maybe after our moon water experiment.
Oh, that'll give us something to talk about.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm totally here for it. Totally here for
It'll
it.
it'll be the shower episode.
Perfect for your erotic astrology.
Exactly.
Your shower, Terrie. Oh, girl, my Mars and Leo was like all over it. And my Venus in Cancer was like, oh, I love this salt bath,
Yeah.
the salt shower.
Okay, I do hate that. Like sometimes, like even though I love astrology, sometimes I hate the astro speak. I'm like, like if I have to say this one more time.
I know, but that goes back to, the whole, it helps people become aware and start on a journey. I mean, it can be for me, I get frustrated when I can see and notice somebody bypassing like their human
Yeah.
experience. Then that's when I'm like, okay, Terrie, you have to be patient. Just be patient. And in all honesty and transparency, I get all judgy McJudgy.
We all do. We
I know.
all do. But you know what? Think of it this way. Maybe you were supposed to meet the cynic in order for you to learn the lesson to practice patience more.
For sure. Like without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yeah. I think one of the hardest things we humans are constantly battling is trying to control other people.
Oh my God. You know what it reminds me of? Not even just like, shitty people that you run into, trying to control them, but like think of when you're in a relationship and let's say your guy just keeps leaving socks around. And you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired of picking up your socks. Well, you know what? That's who he is. So stop trying to control him and don't complain about it. And either leave him laying on the floor until he decides to pick him up or you can pick him up yourself, because you're just gonna, and I see women do that all the time, driving themselves crazy, trying to control the men in their lives
Yeah.
over silly things. I'm not talking about big important things.
Yeah.
You have to set boundaries and all,
Right.
but let them be who they're going to be.
And the
And
problem,
that is a hard lesson.
it is hard because a lot of those little lessons add up, and that's where resentment comes in. And I think resentment energy is like probably the worst kind of energy. Um,
Yeah.
because it sort of branches out in just so many areas. And it's like you lose control because it's so all over the place, you know?
Well, yeah, I think once you start becoming resentful, it compounds because okay, you're resentful of the socks. Well, then you start noticing other things that didn't bother you before, and then it just grows and grows
Yeah.
and
So,
grows, and before you know it, you're resentful of even looking at the person.
yeah. So resentment really starts with us if you think about it. It's not
Mhm.
the other person.
Yeah.
I always tell people like when I'm working with people in terms of relationship, I always tell them humans piss off other humans. Like there's no way around it. So what you need to do is become clear on your needs and wants and what your relationship is going to be like, not the person or the partner, because the right person or the
Yeah.
right partner is going to be also tuning in and tapping into and wanting the same relationship. So you have to reverse engineer this and go from relationship to person instead of person to relationship.
I always say being married is like you just have to find a person that annoys you the least.
I've never been married, so that is, if I ever do get married,
Like,
that is such a huge
that's
lesson.
it.
I'm just gonna have to, yeah, yeah. Who can you be least annoyed with? Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Wow. 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 Well, Tara, now that I've pronounced your name correctly, I believe I butchered it. It
No
was,
worries. I'll call you Tyree.
girl, I have been called worse. Okay. I will respond to Ty.
Got it.
That's awesome. So, so yeah, I mean, is there anything else that you wanted to chat about or talk about or share with anybody?
We covered a lot. I
Yeah,
can't think of
right.
anything.
That's why I was like, just think of it as like girls' night. Cause like if we were just hanging out, we would be talking.
I gotta tell you, I was a little, yeah, I was a little nervous because I was like, what are we gonna talk about? But no, this went really smooth.
Yeah, because
Let it out.
I mean, I went in with the intention, all right, Team Terrie, like you do you, boo. This is gonna be
Yeah.
gonna go the way it's gonna go. And I even so for me, one of the things how I manage my anxieties, I have an alter ego. Here's a little secret about Terrie. I have an alter ego of a mad scientist. And so I like to experiment. When I experiment, I detach from like the possibility of it being sucky. I mean, I'll go to sucky first before awesome. So I notice where I'm like, I'm just going to experiment and play and see what happens, you know? And what's the reality and the truth, Tara? If this sucks so bad, it doesn't have to be posted. Am I
That's
right?
true too. I love the alter ego thing. Maybe
Yeah.
that's why I was thinking of doing the clown makeup. Maybe that's my alter ego.
Oh, have your alter ego.
Yeah.
Sure. It's not a multiple personality issue. It's not. What it is it
Maybe.
okay, fine, whatever. But it disarms, you know, frequencies. It disarms frequencies. So it's funny because I envision my mad scientist looking like Doc Brown from Back to the Future movies. So, you know.
I love it.
So if your alter
Musical
ego,
character, why not?
yeah, right. And so if yours is a clown, you can really go into that because what do clowns do? Clowns entertain people. They are engaged with people. They like to make people smile, right? So, you know,
Yeah.
you bring your alter ego with you, like that can be an aspect of you that comes out, right? So
I read an article about Beyonce and how she has like an alter ego. It's like Sasha Fierce or something like that.
yeah,
And before
yeah,
she would go on stage, she would be like, "No, I'm Sasha Fierce." So then she
yeah,
had the confidence and like, yeah, to go out and do it.
yeah.
I like the mad scientist though.
Yeah, with control, he's great or she's great, whoever. It feels more masculine in energy because it gets like you can do it. You know, it really does. It helps. It helps immensely, and you know, it's a challenge to be a human, especially when you can tap into all those frequencies that the brain isn't processing. So it just gives you a way to manage and to deal. So yeah. So there
Yeah.
you all right, Miss Tara, this has been fantastic. It's been great chatting with you. If you had a good time, we can do it again.
It's been lots of fun.
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely had a good time.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you for experimenting with me. Seriously, thank you for playing with me.
Yeah.
You know, so I hope to
Thanks
do.
for getting me on camera. That doesn't happen.
You're beautiful. You're beautiful.
Thank you.
Silly me. And I apologize to Tara and to you guys, but I felt like I just caught her off. I was like, okay, well, this seems to be coming to an end. So, yeah. So I just want to just say a hearty thank you to Tara. I will leave her information in case you want to get to know her better or learn more about her. She's fantastic. And I want to thank you all uh for watching or listening, however you're getting this portal with Terrie Huberman. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Stay connected, you beautiful spiritual empath, you. and I'll see you on the flip side.